Okay, now we are live. So, hello everyone. I think there is. Can you please mute all your mic if you're not speaking? Hello everyone. Welcome today for our second session for our study group for Azure and DevOps. So today we are covering Module 2, which is building Azure solution using Azure services. So let me give you a quick overview about our session today. So the first lesson, which is usually just introduction about the lesson and the presenters. And I think most of you already know me. So my name is Mohammed Radwan, and you can find more information about me on my blog, mohammedradwan.com. So we will cover first, again, just to get an overview about the speaker and the lesson. So let me jump into that. So the first, we will have lesson 1 with OluTayo. He will present, give us introduction about IoT or Internet of Things. And then lesson 2 will be Sarmad. He will give us a quick overview about AI, artificial intelligence services for Azure. And then Mayank will give us introduction about serverless for Azure solutions. After that, Aaron will give us an introduction about the best tools for organizing, building better solution. And then lesson 5 will be presented by Marwa, which will give us how to configure and managing Azure environment. And then the last lesson today by Mohammed Zaky, which will present how to monitor or the best to monitor visibility inside outage migration. The time for the lesson will be as the following. We will have a break around 8:20 to 8:30. This is the feedback. I hope that we will get your feedback. Let me share I will share the link of the feedback in the chat. And please remember it's very important, please do your effort to give us the feedback, because we would like to hear from you so we can improve for the next session. Yes, this is just the summary. And we will go for lesson 1. So I can see Tayo here. Can you start lesson 1?
All right. Thank you, Mohammed. I'm going to share my screen now. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Sure.
All right.
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay. Yes, so let's get started. Today we'll be discussing about, sorry, let me minimize this. Today we'll be talking about choosing the best Azure IoT service for your application. And before we get started, this is a brief introduction about myself. I'm a platform engineer at Link Group, also a Microsoft certified trainer, and I've done a few Microsoft exams with experience as well, which includes Azure Administrator, Azure DevOps, Azure Solution Architect, Azure Virtual Desktop Specialty. I'm also certified ITIL Foundation. So for more information about me, you could check the LinkedIn group. So let's get started now. Today's lecture will be covering what is IoT, IoT devices, application of IoT, choosing the right IoT service, and also analyzing the decision criteria. We also see case studies about this and knowledge check after this. So we're going to start with the definition of IoT. IoT simply means Internet of Things. It's a kind of a network of connected devices that send data to a centralized computer system. And at the same time, it receives instruction from these centralized computer systems. So it's a kind of bidirectional communication between your device, so-called IoT device, and the centralized computer system. And this always happens through the internet. There is always internet connectivity for this to happen. So if you can take a look at the diagram below, you could see that it shows a kind of what happens between your IoT devices and the cloud, the IoT application itself. If you have a look at this, a kind of bidirectional communication happens between your IoT device, whereby a telemetry is sent from your IoT device to the cloud IoT application. And at the same time, the application can also instruct your device to perform specific actions, or it could be a kind of pushing a firmware update as well to your device. And if you look at this, we have the user interface, which kind of creates a platform where you need to, which makes it possible for you to manage your IoT devices, like a platform. You need to make some changes, push updates to your IoT, instruct it to perform specific functions. And of course, we have the stream processing, which is a kind of real-life or real-time data collections. The data sent from your IoT devices is being collected using the UI interface, and it makes it possible to stream those data real time to get the information about your IoT device in real time. And of course, this information have a kind of storage on the platform, which can make you to reference to previous data as well. So talking about the business integration for this part, you could make a decision of what you want to do with the data collected using the UI interface, depending on your business need or several purposes of that. It's about analyzing the data collected from your IoT devices. So this is just a breakdown of what happens between your IoT device and a kind of centralized system on the internet. So here we're going to discuss about IoT devices. We have various IoT devices out there. We have the ones you are familiar with: smart watches, smart TVs, smart refrigerators, and all that. So what happens between these devices and your IoT? There's a kind of microcontrollers embedded in these devices that makes it possible to exchange data between your device and the centralized system. So we have a kind of sensor that is part of your device that is capable of sending message to the centralized system, where the message needs to be analyzed, and from these messages you could make future predictions of what could happen to these IoT devices. And you could also push a kind of firmware updates to these devices just to make sure they are operating properly, and also it's also helps to increase the lifespan of these kind of devices as well. So as we move along, we see various applications of IoT. It could be applied in the areas of agriculture. It could be for commercial purposes, and we mentioned the residential smartphones and gadgets we have there about that have this IoT kind of performance embedded in it. And you could also make use of IoT to in agriculture areas where you make predictions of when there will be a kind of rainfall or when to harvest your crop. So your IoT device will study your kind of crop, the way your crop grows and all that. And from this data, it could make predictions of what happens in the future. So you could make use of IoT to do so many things, to make predictions, collect telemetry, and all that. So further, we will see other applications of IoT, considering a vending machine, a kind of a refrigerator, which have some things inside, like stocked inside. So it will have a kind of sensor where it will be able to communicate to a centralized system, and this sensor can have the capability of notifying us when the refrigerator is going out of stock, like a notification. You receive a notification, and it will make you stock up your refrigerator and all that. And you could push firmware updates to make sure the vending machine is working as expected. So we have so many applications of IoT, different areas we could apply IoT out there, and unconsciously we are making use of IoT, and there are so many things we can do with IoT out there. So choosing the right IoT service for you, the first one we'll be considering is Azure IoT. Or look at the diagram here. We have a kind of a microcontroller called Embed, which is a kind of operating system embedded on an hardware. And imagine this kind of devices, or this kind of device is embedded on your maybe your smart refrigerator or appliances at home, and this makes it your smart device, and it has the capability to communicate out there to a centralized system where you need to analyze how this system is working, or the performance or thereabout. So if you're primarily considering maybe sending data from your IoT device to a kind of centralized location, and you don't need entry to the centralized system, and then probably a kind of firmware updates from the centralized system to your device. It's a kind of bi-directional communication, but nothing much apart from that. But if you want additional features where you can control your devices and monitor your devices and analyze the reports or thereabout, you could leverage on making use of Azure IoT Central. And the other one we have is Azure Sphere. And when security is a critical thing for you while choosing your Azure IoT, it is best to leverage on Azure Sphere, which gives you the opportunity to secure your devices. Just imagine you're trying to create, to leverage on this smart ATM machine, where in this kind of scenario, security has to be in place. You need to make sure the right person is accessing your devices. You could make use of multi-factor authentication and all that. So leveraging, considering the security part of things in your devices, or the device you want to bring up to IoT and all that, you should leverage on Azure Sphere if you will be considering the security aspect of it. So that brings us to analyzing the decision criteria. In this kind of scenario, this will make you this kind of questions will make you decide what IoT service you need to leverage on. Look at the first one, which says, is it critical to ensure that the device is not compromised? In this kind of scenario, and it is best to leverage on Azure Sphere when security is of paramount importance when making a kind of decision. And the other one, which says, do I need a dashboard for reporting and management? And if you need a dashboard just to manage your devices, to bring up so many other features on your devices, you need to make use of Azure Central when talking about this. So let's have a quick demo just to introduce us on what it means, how we leverage on Azure IoT. So I'm going to be giving an example, making illustration about the Azure IoT Central. So this link is provided in the presentation as well on the notes aspect. So I'm going to scroll down and create a custom application. I'm going to name this application as plug and play. Okay, so I'm going to choose the standard here. I'm going to choose my directory. I'm going to choose my subscription here. What I'm doing now, in the slide, you will see the link. From the link, you will see the step-by-step of what to do, just to have an idea of what it means to, what IoT means, on how to leverage on that. So I'm going to create the application here. So after this lecture, just grab your mobile phone. You can go to your Play Store or App Store and download IoT Plug and Play. Just a second. IoT Plug and Play. So the application is deployed here. So I need to add my. It's connected, but it's not yet giving some kind of data from my mobile device. Let me do a refresh again. Just a moment. Can you see my screen? Look at the battery level. Yeah, look at the battery level of my device and all that. You can see my location here. So this is like an exchange between my device, my mobile device, and using the IoT Central, all that. So you can get more information. If you click on the raw data, you see some kind of exchange or information exchange between my device and being captured here. You see the timestamp where it connects and all that. You see several information here. So this allows you to see, to have a control of the other device, maybe your IoT device out there, and then you could leverage on this, making some kind of changes on your devices, trying to tweak it to your taste and all that. This is just giving us an example of how IoT works. So let's go back to the presentation again. So I'm going to talk about one of these case studies here now. I think I have about 3 of them, so I'm going to go through one of it just to make sure we are following the lecture and we know the right IoT services to use in different scenarios to meet different needs. So the Tailwind Trader senior leadership team has decided to partner with a leading appliance manufacturer to create an exclusive high-end brand that promises a preemptive maintenance service agreement. This unique feature will differentiate Tailwind Trader appliances in a crowded, competitive market. And the feature also makes the brand lucrative because a yearly subscription will be required. To build a strong reputation, appliances will send telemetry information to a centralized location where the data can be analyzed and maintenance can be scheduled. The device will not require a remote control, and this will merely be sending their telemetry data for analysis and proactive maintenance. Because Tailwind Trader also already has software in place for managing appliances maintenance requests, the company wants to integrate all functionality into this existing system. In this kind of scenario, looking at this case study, what kind of IoT service do you think would be the best for the organization to make use of? Just try to consider this part. The device will not require remote control, just merely sending telemetry data from it for analysis and proactive maintenance. Can anyone just try to suggest which kind of IoT service would be the best? Okay, like I mentioned earlier, the best option for this is Azure IoT Hub, because it leverages on just bidirectional communication, sending telemetry from your device to a centralized system and probably pushing a kind of update from that system, making sure the firmware of your IoT device is up to date thereabout. There's no need for a kind of control other than just to send telemetry. So we have other two case studies here. We can go through that. The solution is in the notes on the presentation. And let's just quickly have a knowledge check just to make sure that we are following. And the first option is a company wants to build a new voting kiosk for sales to governments around the world. Which IoT technology should the company choose to ensure the highest degree of security? Can anyone try just to select the right option, or what do you think would be the right option in this scenario?
IoT Central?
Well, IoT Central is mainly for having a platform where you can manage your devices. You can control it. But if you're talking about security, you go with Azure Sphere, which is whenever you're considering security as a paramount importance here, you leverage on the Azure Sphere, which is the third one. And for the second question, a company wants to quickly manage its individual IoT devices by using a web-based user interface. Which kind of technology do you think this person can choose? Can anyone try? You need a kind of web-based user interface. That is like the illustration I made earlier. That was IoT Central. It manages, it manages, it provides a platform where you manage your devices. So let me just have a quick talk about these three. IoT Hub is kind of a communication between your IoT device and a centralized system. And what kind of communication happens between these two? Your IoT device sends telemetry or data to your central system, and the central system can also try to update your firmware, your device firmware. So this is kind of restricted. Those kind of communications are the only communications that can happen when we're talking about IoT Hub. And when we talk about IoT Central, we get much more. We have a centralized dashboard where you can make so many changes and instruct, as well as pushing updates, that's additional features, which is similar to IoT Hub. You can tweak your devices to perform several functions, just to have a centralized platform where you can manage your devices. That is when you leverage on IoT Central. And whenever you leverage on IoT Sphere, that's when security is of importance. That's when you leverage on IoT Sphere. So that is the major differences between these three. So let's see if we can try and get this based on my explanation. And you want to send messages from the IoT device to the cloud and vice versa. Which IoT technology can you leverage on in this kind of scenario? Can anyone try? So in this kind of IoT Hub, correct? Yes. In this kind of scenario, IoT Hub is the best option because if you look at it, it just sends data from your IoT device to the cloud and vice versa. Nothing more, no centralized system to manage your devices, and no security is required. So it's simply IoT Hub in this kind of scenario. So we can go over the lecture in our leisure time just to go over what I've discussed as well. And in today's, these are the answers to for the knowledge check. And summary of this lecture today, we've covered the definition of IoT, talking about IoT devices and the type of IoT application of IoT, I mean, and also choosing the right IoT service, analyzing the decision criteria, the decision we make choosing this IoT case studies. We have 3. You could go over the 2 at your leisure time and knowledge check. Do we have any question? Any question?
Is there anyone has any question? Thank you. Oh, you can carry on, Tayo.
All right. So that is it for me.
Yes, that's great. Actually, on time, it was perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's great. Okay, so we have the second lesson, which will be presented by Sarmad, talking about AI, artificial intelligence services. So Sarmad, can you start sharing your screen?
Yes, Mohammed. Just give me a second. So am I audible clearly to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So just guys, let me know when you guys can see my screen.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so the topic which I'm going to present is choose the best AI service for your needs. So definitely I'll be speaking about Azure-based AI services and what they have to offer. So a brief introduction before starting about myself. So my name is Sarmad Raza. I am based in Qatar. I'm working as an apps and infra lead at Information and Communication Technologies. I'm Microsoft certified cloud specialist. I've worked in several projects with the time, and I'm passionate about AI, DevOps, and robotic systems. So the lesson that I'm going to present will cover Azure Cognitive Services, Azure Bot Service, and Azure Machine Learning Service. So definitely these services are quite big, and there is a lot to these services, but I'll just give you overview of these services, basic understanding regarding these services. And I have prepared several demos, which I'm going to present as well. So starting off with cognitive services. So Azure Cognitive Services are cloud-based services with REST APIs and client library SDKs available to you to build cognitive intelligence into your applications. So you can add cognitive features without having any artificial intelligence or data science skills by using Azure Cognitive Services. So cognitive services basically enables you to build solutions, which can see, hear, speak, or understand, or even make decisions. So these cognitive services are further categorized into 5 categories, in which we have vision based services, speech services, language, knowledge, and search services. So definitely in vision, if I go further deep, so in vision we have like computer vision, emotion, space, and video. So what computer vision offers is that you can find information in images and videos. You can find faces of people in images and videos. You can detect what kind of emotions they have, or even you can detect any kind of object in images, and you can perform such kind of operations. And in speech, okay, so did anyone say something?
No,
sorry, no. It's from the top of my mind.
Okay. All right. So in speech, we have speech to text conversion, text to speech conversion, speaker recognition. You can translate speech from one language to another language, and kind of operations. And in language, you can do spelling checks, you can perform linguistic analysis, language understanding, text analytics, and so on. So in knowledge, you can have academic knowledge, entity linking, knowledge exploration, and also for search, you can perform web search, image search, video search. So basically, you can build solutions which can have such capabilities, combined capabilities to add more value to your application and products by using cognitive services. So why use cognitive services? Because they are very easy to use. You have SDKs available in multiple languages for developers, so they can easily develop these applications. And then you also have option for REST APIs, so you can make REST calls to these services. So these are pre-trained AI models that are offered to you as a service, and you can just simply go to Azure and create the service and start using it. You don't have to train the model or do anything. So they are ready to use basically, and they are flexible. You can use any operating system. There is a wide variety of language which can be used to communicate with these services, and they are well tested. They are well documented. Azure documentation has step-by-step guidance for every service and how to use it. You have sample codes available. There is a large community support for these services as well. In Vision API, you have several types of APIs that you can create. So you have computer vision, which allows you to work with images and videos. And as I spoke earlier, you can detect things in them. You can analyze them for information. Then you have custom vision. In custom vision, you can build your own machine AI-based model, which would provide the service according to your requirement. So basically, you will train the model on the data that you have, and you can label it, and then you can start using it. And then you have face, which is widely used for face detection, and we have lots of applications right now in the world which are using face detection. So then you have speech APIs. In speech APIs, you can go for speech to text conversion, text to speech conversion. These are widely being used in mobile applications, in bot services these days. So and in speech, you also have speech translation and more. So I only kept the featured services here, but there are a number of services in cognitive services available to you. You can definitely go and explore them more on the docs. And then we have the decision API, in which we have anomaly detector, content moderator, and personalizer. And moving on, we have search APIs. You can search for news and a lot of things, videos, entities, other entities, and web search. So how to use these APIs or these AI models? It's very simple. You can make a call, a REST call to the API, or you can use the SDK in order to interact with these APIs. So this is an example of speech to text conversion, where we are sending an audio file to the services and we are getting the file converted as text. Okay, so it's time for demos. So I will present two demos, one for speech service, the other one would be for custom vision service. Just a second. Okay, in order to create the speech service, you will have to go to Azure portal. For that, definitely you need to have a subscription. So once you are in Azure portal, you can search for speech. So you will see speech service here. And you have a speech service in marketplace as well. Or you can go to create a resource, which will take you to the Azure marketplace, and you can search here for speech service. So this is Azure Speech Service, a category of Azure Cognitive Service. So now you will select the subscription, you will select the resource group, the region where you want to deploy. You will have to give a name for the service as well. And there are different pricing tier for the service as well. You have free tier and you have standard tier. So these services are basically priced according to how many calls that you are going to make. So the pricing is done accordingly. So basically, you will just create the service in Azure, and once it's ready, you will have a GUI like this of your service. So now this is the management plane of the speech service. You can manage your speech service. The menu on the left side that you see is the management plane, and you can manage all aspects of the speech service from here. So what you need now is, when you have your speech service ready, all you need is an endpoint to call this API and the key which is used to authenticate and authorize to this service. So I will just show you that. So if you go to keys and endpoints, so here you can see your keys and your endpoint. Okay, so once you have your key, you can copy it, and that now you can just simply use it in your application or anything. So now this is an application which I created, and I will close this video now, and I will just go into it. So this is the application here. So first of all, this is a Node.js application, and you can see I'm using the speech, cognitive speech SDK. You can install this SDK. It's available on Microsoft Docs. And then it's just 4 to 5 lines of code. I will not get into the code because that is not relevant to this demo. But basically, I'm just creating a few objects, and I'm just calling the API. So I will just start it. So in order to test it, I am going to speak a phrase. So I will start now. The main reason people struggle financially is because they have spent years in school but learned nothing about money. Okay, so you guys can see it has detected something, but my accent maybe it understood too. So, but this is an enterprise grade level service. Mostly it works fine. So you can see it has detected what I said. So I will close this now, and I will move to another part, which is text to speech. So in text to speech, we are doing the same thing. I have written a text. You guys can see this text. So I'm going to translate it into speech.
The main reason people struggle financially is because they have spent years in school but learned nothing about money. The result is that people learn to work for money, but never learn to have money work for them. The main reason people struggle financially is because they have spent years in school but learned nothing about money. The result is that people learn to work for money, but never learn to have money work for them.
Okay, so I hope you guys heard that. So this was the demo on speech service. So you guys saw it was very simple. We just scrolled it. And now I have another demo on custom vision, in which we are going to see how to train a cognitive service, a vision-based cognitive service on our own data. So what you need to do is that you go to Azure portal, search for cognitive services. And you can see we have all the categories here in cognitive services. So we have in Vision, we have 3 types of APIs, but I'm going to create custom vision for this demo. So we have option to create a prediction API or training API or both. So we need both. After that, I am going to give it a subscription, a resource group, a region where I want to deploy, and a name. Guys, just give me a second. Let me open it in. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to give it a region, a name, and then the pricing tier which I want to select for the API. You have free and standard. And then we have some networking options if you want to allow public connectivity or hello, guys, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you, Sarmad, very well.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought I just got dropped. Okay, so after doing that, now we have our services ready. We have 2 APIs, one for prediction and one for training. So this is the management plane, and you can see we have keys and endpoints just like the speech service. But the thing is, this is custom vision. So we have to train a model and then publish it on this service. So in order to do that, we are going to go to customvision.ai, as you can see, and I'm going to sign in. Now this platform allows us to train an AI custom vision model and then publish it on the service which we just created in Azure. So I'm going to sign in, and this is how it looks like. Over here you can create projects. So I'm going to create a new project, and now you will give it a name, a description, and in the resource you can see I've selected the resource which I created in Azure. So if you haven't created a vision service in Azure, you can create it from here as well. And then you have 2 types of project here. Either you can go for classification or object detection. So I'm going for classification, and object detection is basically detecting objects and images. And you have classification types multi-label and multi-class. So you can in multi-label you can add multiple tags to your images, and in multi-class you can only add a single tag for image. So that's it. You create the project, and this is the interface of the workspace. You can simply add images. So I'm adding some bike images and tagging those images as bike, and then I'm adding a few images of car, and I'm tagging them as car, and then some plain images. I'm sorry if it's too fast. It was a very big demo, so I had to shorten it up. And that's it. You tag your images, and after uploading, you tag your images, and then you can just click on this train button. Then it gives you two options, either to go for quick training or advanced training. So quick training is basically it trains the model quickly on the data which you provide. If you go for advanced training, it gives you an option for how long you want to train the model. So definitely the advanced option is better because the longer you train your model, the better it is going to predict. But for this demo, I'm going to go for quick training, so because that would be enough. It's very simple data. So it will take some time to train the model. And once the model is done, it will give you the result of precision, recall, and AP. So these are just the metrics of how your model is going to perform according to the data and the tags that you've provided. So everything looks good here. And now within this GUI based interface, we can also test our model. So we have a quick test button here, and I have some test data as well. So I'm going to pass in the test data images to test the model. So you can see it has detected plane with 99% probability. And same for the other images. So once you're satisfied with your model, what you can do is you can go ahead and publish the model. Now this model would be published on the service which we created in Azure. After publishing it, we'll get the endpoint of this model, so we can use it. So here I'm publishing it. So after publishing it, you can click on the prediction URL, and it will tell you how to send images to this model in order to use it with your application. So this was it. You can further use these steps to send the images from your application. And I will get back to the slides now. So the next is Azure Bot Service. So Azure Bot Service basically allows you to build smart bots in cloud. You can publish them in cloud. So it has a few ways you can do the development of the bot. So Azure offers, Microsoft basically offers a bot framework Composer, which is a full-fledged IDE on which you can build, test, and deploy your bot using that IDE. And then you have BotFrame SDK, that is a software development kit which you can use to work in different languages in order to build the bot. And then you have Power Virtual Agents. Now, Power Virtual Agents is a service in Power Apps, which doesn't involve any code. It's a drag and drop GUI based, easy to use graphical interface to build interactive chatbots. So you have these three options to build a bot. There are several features in bot service. You can create adaptive dialogues. Azure Bot is fully compatible and can be integrated with natural language understanding, language generation. You have integration with Q&A Maker, which acts as a knowledge base for your bot. You can create a question and answers, and create a knowledge base of those question and answers, and your bot can utilize that knowledge base to interact with the user. And then you have bot framework emulator built in for your testing. So the bot framework, as you can see in the diagram, can be integrated with multiple channels: Skype, Messenger, WhatsApp, Teams, and it can also be integrated with devices. And now Azure Bot Service is fully compatible to use Azure Cognitive Services. So you can integrate Azure Cognitive Services with Azure Bot Service, and now your bot would be able to speak, hear, and see things and search for things and do all kind of these things. So you can also add external integration with the bot, and for knowledge purpose you can go for persistent storage, where you can save data and bot can get the data from. So this is basically a basic framework which bot uses for an extensive bot. So the bot architecture on Azure is simple. We have Azure Bot Service basically runs on top of Azure App Service. Azure App Service is a platform as a service which is widely used for hosting web apps. So and it's further has a persistence layer. You can save your data, as I said, and it's fully compatible with Azure AI capabilities. And for monitoring, we have Azure-based solution application insights can be used to monitor your bot. So next, I'll go for the demo. So in order to work with the bot service, you can go to the docs, and over here you can download the IDE which I spoke about, the Composer IDE. You can download it from here, and once you download it, it will be something like this. So now in this IDE, you have multiple, you can basically manage the whole life cycle of your bot. You can create your bot, you can create the knowledge base of bot, you can publish it on cloud, and everything can be managed through using this framework. So for this demo, I'm going to create a basic bot, and then I'm going to publish it in Azure. So you can see you have multiple options to create the bots, but I'm going to go for the empty bot, which will not have much capabilities. And what my bot is going to do is it is going to return me today's menu. So you have runtime options to either create the bot for Azure Functions or host it on Azure Web App. So now it is creating the template for me, and it's ready. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a dialog for my bot, and I'm going to name it as menu. And in this dialog, I'm going to save the menu that I have for today. So you can see in this GUI, we have an option to begin a dialog, And then we had multiple options to what to do in this dialogue. So we can send a response, ask a question, and there are multiple things that you can do. So for my case, I will send a response, and in that response, I will just have my menu. And now in order to start this dialogue, I have to add a trigger, which will basically start this menu dialog. So for that, I'm just using the menu keyword as a trigger. It is being added as an intent in my menu bot, and in this intent, which I just created, I am going to add a dialog management, and in this dialog management, I am going to add the dialog which I just created. So every time I ask, or while chatting, I write menu, it is going to pick up that intent and return me the dialog which has the menu. So you can see we have a built-in emulator to test it, and we're doing that. So the bot looks fine, and it's ready. So now the next thing is I'm going to publish it using the bot framework on Azure. So in order to do that, I have to create a published profile, which basically is used to authenticate and authorize with Azure, and is linked with a specific resource. So we have options to create new and or import. So I'm going for create new resource in Azure. So this new resource would be a bot channel and an Azure app service that we are the configurations. We are doing those configurations from this GUI built within the bot framework. I'm giving the service a name, selecting a region. You have to do this for every Azure resource. And now over here, you can see we have some required resources. So these are required in order to run this bot on Azure. And we have some optional resources as well. So I will leave the optional resources because they are not needed. This bot is very simple. And I will hit next and then create. So now you can see it is provisioning the required resources in Azure directly from the IDE. So once the provisioning is done, I'm checking my resource group, and we have the resources created by the IDE. So now everything is ready, and we can publish it now, the bot. So in order to publish it, I am selecting the publish profile which I just created, and then just publishing the bot on that published profile. So behind the scene, it's building the bot code and then packaging it, and it's then uploading the zip file to the Azure App Service. And soon enough, we have a success message. So now bot is published, and we can go to Azure and test the bot. So I'm in the Azure bot service, and we have this option to test it in web chat. So over here, I write menu, and the menu is here. So the bot is working fine. This is how you can work with bot service using bot framework. Okay. So the next is Azure Machine Learning. So Azure Machine Learning is a cloud service for managing the machine learning project lifecycle. machine learning basically allows you to train, package, validate, deploy, monitor, do all of those things you can do all of these things using Azure Machine Learning. It's specific, this service is specific for data scientists and developers who likes to develop machine learning models from scratch, and it allows all the tools to them to do that. So basically, training, packaging, and validating, and deploying and monitoring, this is the life cycle of building machine learning models. And Azure Machine Learning has all the tools that are required to do that. With that, it's a service which provides you to run your notebooks written in Python or R. It has a designer-based GUI interface to, basically drag and drop and create your workflows, which we are going to see in the demo. It has AutoML capability, which is basically, AutoML is built-in algorithms that you can throw at your data to train it. And then you have compute. So it manages the compute for you. You don't have to create the compute services. Azure Machine Learning Service will manage all the compute power that you require. It will provision and it will manage those VMs in Azure for you. You don't have to worry about managing them yourself. So, and also it offers you to build end-to-end solution using Azure Machine Learning pipelines. So, yeah. So, the key features regarding Azure Machine Learning, as I said, it manages the compute for you. You don't have to provision or manage the compute unit yourself. It is going to take care of that. It has automated machine learning algorithms available for you that you can use on your data and get the best output out of them. You have data stores. You can get data from multiple sources. You can use Azure File Share or Azure Storage Account, and then you can run notebooks written in Python. So this is basically the designer GUI, how it looks like, and it's very simple. You can see it's drag and drop. You can create your workflows. It's easy to see and manage. So Azure Machine Learning Workspace, from a higher level, it has multiple resources that we see. So we have some resources of Azure Machine Learning, which are compute, notebook, pipelines, data, experiments, models, which are a part of Azure Machine Learning Workspace. And also we have Azure Storage Account for storing the data for that you are going to use with the service, and we have application insights to monitor your models and key vaults to store secrets, and virtual machines act as compute units which will perform all of the training and testing of the models, and then container registries if you want to store any container images of your models. So you can work in any framework. All the famous frameworks are supported in Azure Machine Learning: TensorFlow, PyTorch, Keras. So you can use all of these frameworks with Azure Machine Learning. With that, by using Azure Machine Learning, you boost your productivity because it provides you all the tools in one place to manage the whole life cycle of the machine learning models. It increases your rate of experimentation because you can provision compute according to your need on demand. You can deploy and manage your models everywhere using the service. So it also, you have DevOps compatibility for this service. You can, and there are multiple options. Let me go to the demo quickly. So in Azure, you can search for machine learning, and you can create. So I will select resource group again. I will give my workspace a name. I will select the region. So the rest of the names are okay. For storage account, keyboard, and application inside, these names are fine for me. There are not much settings available for you in order to create the machine learning service in Azure. In order to manage the machine learning service, you don't have much options, because Azure Machine Learning Service offers you a machine learning studio, which is a web-based GUI where you basically work with this service. So this was it. This is how you create the service, and then so you can see I created this service. Now I'm going to show you what's inside it. So after creating it, you have the option to launch the Machine Learning Studio, which is the web-based GUI where you can work with and create your models and do everything. So here you can see in the author section, we have the notebooks. As I said, you can create R and Python-based notebooks, or you can go for a sample, and in samples you can run a sample notebook. You will find all the details, and you can just follow the step-by-step guidance to quickly create your machine learning model. With that, you have automated ML, so you can use this to throw random algorithms, whichever best suits your data, and produce the best output. So it has all of the built-in algorithms for you, and then you have the designer interface, which we talked about. Before that, we have asset management. In asset management, you can manage your data sets, you can manage your experiments, you can build pipelines, models, and you can deploy those models to the endpoints that you want. You can manage everything from here. And in manage, you can manage your compute that you are going to provision for training and training your models and deploying the models, and you have environments and data stores for all of these services. Things can be managed through the portal. So in Designer, I have created this model. So in order to train, you have to create a compute type. So in order to create a compute type, you can simply click on this Create Azure Machine Learning Compute Instance, and it gives you an option to create the compute power that you need to train and test your models. So you can go for a name here, a CPU type, a virtual machine type, either CPU or GPU, and then the size of the VM. And then you can just simply create it, and it will be ready for you within no time. And then, as you can see here, this is the drag and drop GUI which I was talking about. So it's very simple. You bring in your data set and then start performing your operations on the data the way you want. So it's very simple. You have all the algorithms available for you here. So you can just simply drag and drop all of this. And for example, add columns, or maybe train. And then eventually, when you are ready with your workflow, you can simply submit it, and it will start to train the model using the compute unit which you just created. And once you are satisfied with your model, you can publish it directly from here to Azure or any web service that you want to publish it on. So I believe this is it. I've tried to wrap up it as fast as possible. So I apologize. I believe I'm over time. So thank you all for your time.
No problem. It was really great. Yes. Okay. So we're just missing the next lesson because Mayank he has some issues, so he couldn't join today. So I think because we are also very, I agree with Aaron that he will go for the next lesson. But as I think, like, you know, this is why I didn't interrupt you, Sarmad, because we have time. So I think we can take a break because we just have 5 minutes, you know. So if we can take a break and return back at 8:20, this will be great. This is okay, Aaron?
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, before we go on break, I just wanted to say if anyone has any question, I forgot to ask that, please let me know.
Yeah, sure. If anyone has any question during the break, again, you know, we will be here. I will be here. So if anyone has any question. No, it seems.
I think we are good.
Yes, everyone is
Thank you.
good. Thank you, Samad. It's really great.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
السيشن هتبدأ دلوقتي ولا لسه 5 دقايق كمان؟
The session already.
20 minutes break. 20 minutes break.
قلت يا حضرتك؟
The session now, we have a break now.
Okay.
Let me share.
Sorry, I was unmuted, sorry.
So are you ready, Aaron?
Hello, yeah.
Yeah.
So just
Great.
swapping all the screens and
Yeah.
apologies, my screens are just having a
No
complete
problem.
meltdown.
No problem. So now we are going for lesson 4, which is choose the best tools to build better solutions. Again, just a reminder, please try to fill the feedback for people that are attending the session so we can improve the next session. I will share the link again in the chat. Yes, we can see your screen, Aaron.
Cool.
Great, thank you.
Sorry about that. It's always the way when you go to present something, all my screens decided to do a little bit of a jump around. I've got a few too many, I think.
Yeah.
So this lesson is going to be around choosing the best tools to build better solutions. Just a brief bit about myself. I'm a senior data consultant at Hitachi Solutions. I've been working for Hitachi for a couple of years, and I've got about 10 years worth of experience in Microsoft ecosystem, mainly developing SQL Server and modern data platform solutions, but a bit of a generalist in Azure, and I'm 17 times certified. I have a bit of a collection mentality when it comes to the certifications. I've handled all of the data and AI ones, all the fundamentals, and now I'm collecting the remaining Azure ones. To go on to the lesson itself, effectively the main objective of the lesson is just to be able to choose software development process tools and services that best address the specific business scenarios. Before we go into the main content of the actual module, I just thought it might be prudent to do a little bit of an introduction about DevOps. So DevOps is a process of what is the union of people, process, and products to enable continued delivery of value to the end customers. So really, the DevOps main development and operations, so developing things and looking after them all inside the same process. Excuse me. So understanding the cycle times, being able to see what would be good for a DevOps process, data informed, strive valid learning, shortening the life cycle time, optimizing that as well. So fastest feedback loop you can make as well, improving that to take advantage of improvements moving forward quicker, and then realizing the value. So the products that we're going to be having a look at are Azure DevOps, GitHub with GitHub Actions for Azure, and Azure Dev Test. So Azure DevOps Services provides a development collaboration tool, including pipelines, repositories, Kanban boards, extensive automated and cloud-based load testing. Azure Dev Test Labs allows you to quickly provision environments in Azure whilst minimizing waste and controlling costs. GitHub is an American product that provides hosting for software development and version control using Git. It offers a distributed version control source code management system, functionality of Git, plus its own features. It provides access control and several collaboration features, such as bug tracking, feature requests, task management, and wikis for every project. GitHub Actions makes it easier to automate all of your software workflows. Now with the world-class CI/CD build, test, and deploy your code right from GitHub, make code reviews, branch management, and issue triage work the way you want it to work. So the first of these what we're going to have a look at is Azure DevOps, which is comprised of Azure boards, pipelines, repos, artifacts, and test plans. To go into a little bit of detail about these ones, but not too much. The boards are an agile project management suite that includes Kanban boards, reporting, tracking ideas, and work from a high-level epics all the way through to work items and tasks and issues. Pipelines is the ability that gives you, or is the area that gives you the ability to do continuous integration or build pipelines, continuous delivery, release pipelines in an automated fashion. You can also add gateways into these pipelines as well to step yourselves through the different environments you would like to provision. Azure Repos is your centralized source repository where your source code for your software development projects would be. DevOps engineering, documentation professionals can publish code for review and collaboration. Azure Artifacts is a repository for hosting artifacts such as compiled source code, which can be fed into test or deployment pipeline steps. Excuse me. Test plans is a place you can use to automate test tools. It's an automated test tools area that can be used within CI/CD pipelines to ensure quality before software release. It's worth mentioning as well that although Azure DevOps Service is a web-based platform, you can also install this on a server on premises as well, which is kind of a replacement to the predecessor Team Foundation service. So GitHub and Git Actions comprises of many of the same areas called slightly different things: code space, repos, actions, artifacts, security. Arguably the world's most popular code repository for open source projects. Git's a decentralized source code management tool, and GitHub is a hosted version of Git that serves as a primary remote. GitHub builds on top of Git and provides related services for coordinating work, reporting and discussing issues, providing documentation and more. It offers the following functionalities. So the GitHub Actions allows you to do the CI/CD processes and have actions come out of the code repositories, much like the pipelines does inside of Azure DevOps. The third option, Azure Test Labs. Dev Test Labs provides automated means of managing process for build, setup, and tear down of virtual machines. It's often in a cheaper scale than you would do to provision these out into a normal subscription, thus saving costs and efficiencies when you're building up your dev and test environments. This allows you to stand up your environments quickly for development and testing purposes. And pretty much anything can be deployed into these using an ARM template. Provisioning pre-created labs with the required configuration and tools already installed is a really big time saver for quality assurance, so test professionals and developers. So you can also migrate or integrate existing tools into both DevOps and GitHub. So there's a wide range of existing management tools, including Trello and Solidify. So for Jira, etc., to do migrations across to DevOps or to build those tools into them as well. Azure test plans can be used for tracking sprints and milestones, test feedback extensions via the Visual Studio Marketplace, and just another couple of the other open source tools as well. Apache, JMeter, Pester, and Soap UI can be used inside of these as well. So going on to decision criteria in terms of how you would choose which one of these tools or a set of tools or suites of tools to use for your individual use cases, whatever project you're working on currently or developing for. Do you need an automated and managed test lab creation? If the aim of your use case is to automate the creation of management of test lab environment, consider choosing Dev Test Labs. Among the three tools, the services here that's described as the only one that offers this functionality. However, you can automate the provision of new labs as part of a tool chain by using pipelines or GitHub actions. So, for example, if you wanted to provision something out into, DevOps or GitHub instead of using Dev Test Labs, you could build out a process to do that using ARM scripts, pass parameters, etc. But you're not going to be able to take advantage of the cost saving, and it'll be a bit more development time for actually provisioning those environments. Are you building open source software? So although DevOps can publish public code repositories, GitHub has long been the preferred host for open source software. So if you're building open source software, you'd likely choose GitHub, if for no other reason than visibility and general acceptance by open source development community. The remaining decision criteria are a bit more specific in terms of DevOps and GitHub. So regarding source code management and DevOps tool, what level of granularity do you need for permissions? So GitHub works on a simple model of read-write permissions for every feature, while as contrast, Azure DevOps has much more granularity in the set of permissions that allow organizations to refine who's able to perform the operations across the entire tool set. And there's just two more decision criteria. So regarding source control management and DevOps tools, how sophisticated does the project management and reporting needs need to be? Although GitHub has got items, issues, and Kanban boards, project management and reporting is the area where DevOps excels. DevOps is highly customizable, which allows an administrator to add custom fields, to capture metadata and other information alongside each work item. In contrast, GitHub issues features uses tags as its primary means of helping teams to categorize issues. So, for example, where I work at Hitachi, we use pre-made DevOps templates to push out a particular working pattern in Agile. So we use different templates to do, for example, some of the 365 projects, and then also data and AI projects. We have different Kanbans, different templates for each of those, which will push out different artifacts, wikis, templated work items, features, tasking, etc. And different ways of processing through those project management scales. Regarding source code management and DevOps tools, how tightly do you need to integrate with the third-party tool? Although there's not really any specific recommendations from Microsoft about using third-party tools, it's important to understand that the organization's existing investments in tools and services, need to be evaluated, and dependencies might affect the choice. So, for example, if the organization's already spent quite a lot of money in an existing tool like Jira, you might want to use something that allows you to hook in or do API calls to that other service from both pipelines and GitHub Actions, although generally the effort to validate that would be slightly more than using something that's inbuilt in those areas. So there's a couple of case studies to go through. A software development team at Tailwind Traders works on a different project, both for internal and external usage. The team needs to give project sponsors and managers executive level reports, including burn down charts, track progress against epics, track custom information that's specific to Tailwind Traders in each work item and bug report. As Tailwind Traders grows and hires contractors and outside vendors for short-term work, the upper management team wants to ensure that these individuals have access to the information they need. So just going through those 5 questions. Thinking about, does Tailwind Traders need to automate and manage test lab creation? So does anyone want to hazard a guess? So no, so in this scenario, Dev Test Labs isn't a candidate because there's no specific use case for test lab creation. Are they building open source software? They're not specifically stated. Tailwind Traders building internal and external systems, such as e-commerce systems, which is probably not going to be open source. So I don't think that that's going to be something that's going to be taken into consideration in this scenario. What level of granularity does Tailwind Traders need for permissions? Early on, it's stated that Tailwind Traders will hire temporary employees and vendors for short-term work. So they probably are going to need some granular permission requirements for those staffing needs, which is probably an important consideration for upper management based on the descriptions in the unit. This kind of makes Azure DevOps the leading candidate. By using DevOps Tailwind Trader administrators, we'll be able to set out a more robust set of options for controlling permissions across the entire portfolio. So fourth, does Tailwind Traders require a sophisticated project management and reporting solution? Yeah, it kind of sounded like they would need something quite robust in project management and reporting features as one of their primary considerations. Here again, because of the work items, customization and report management features of DevOps, it would likely be a good choice. So the last one, does Tailwind Traders require tight integration to any third-party tools? So there wasn't anything listed as a consideration for a third-party tool. Excuse me. So both DevOps and GitHub's still in the making for this. I think because it's it's had some other clear requirements that are slightly stronger in DevOps. Probably means that DevOps is going to be the choice that would be made in this scenario. So another case study, Tailwind Traders hopes to publish an API that would allow third parties to integrate their own inventories of new and used items. This approach would allow Tailwind Traders to offer a wide variety of products directly from their e-commerce site. Although the internal implementation of API is closed source, Tailwind Trader wants to create a set of examples that call the API and perform various actions. The team needs to perform to share example code, collect feedback on the API, allow contributors to report issues, and build community around the features. So running through the same questions again. Does it need automated and managed test labs creation? Well, no, it's not specifically saying anything about automated test lab. Are we looking about building open source software? So it is looking at the open source world. So that kind of means it's a contender for the GitHub side of things. You can build the community, improve code from example, get feedback and bug reports out from that community as well. Kind of sounds like a really good candidate for GitHub so far. Number 3, the granularity for permissions. Although it's not really stated explicitly, Tailwind Traders will be accepting community contribution, issuing reports, and general attempting to build a community of developers, so a lot of open source again. So there probably won't be that much need for a really robust granularity within their solution that they're choosing. So I think GitHub would probably be a good candidate still. So again, because it's going to be community driven and open source, it's not really sounding like it's going to need a lot of robust or sophisticated project management or reporting in the solution. So I kind of think that GitHub's going to be the one that's going to be listed on this one. Does it have any integration with third-party hosting, third-party hosted apps or tools? No, it's not saying any third parties. So GitHub's probably going to be the one used in this scenario. The last one of these. So Tailwind Traders wants to be more methodical. Getting some echo. So more methodical and careful when it pushes new versions of its e-commerce website to production. The company will expand its quality assurance team, and it will use a cloud to create and host virtual machines. Through this approach, it will create test environments that match the production environment. The management team has concerns around cost of automated test environment. Excuse me. For instance, it wants to make sure the QA professionals are not wasting time configuring the testing environments to match the production environments. The team wants to ensure that the VMs are destroyed when they're no longer used. Limit the number of VMs for each QA professional is allowed to be spun up. And also the team wants to ensure that each environment configured correctly consistent with the production environment. So going through the same questions again. So it instantly meets the first question. So there's not much point running through the others. So it's definitely going to be one that we would think Azure Dev Test Labs would be the best scenario for. Just running on to the exam questions. So which of the following choices would not be used to automate a CI/CD pipeline? Azure Pipelines, GitHub Actions, or Azure Boards? Anybody care to have a guess?
Anybody would like to answer? Yeah.
Azure Pipeline and Azure Dev Test Lab.
So the question is which would not be used to automate a CI/CD pipeline or CI/CD process? Azure pipelines,
Azure boards.
Azure boards, yeah.
Azure boards. Mainly two tasks. Azure boards.
Which service could help you manage the VMs that your developers and testers need to ensure that your app works across various operating systems? Azure Test Labs, Dev Test Labs, or Azure repos?
Azure Test Labs. Sorry, Dev Test Labs.
Yep, Dev Test Labs. And the last one, which of the service lacks features to assign individual developer tasks to work on? Azure boards, GitHub,
Azure boards.
Azure pipelines.
Board, yeah.
Board.
So its service lacks features to assign individual developers tasks to work on.
GitHub.
Board.
Board.
Azure boards.
Azure boards.
Signed process for storage.
So Azure boards has the ability to do project management, where you can assign user activity to an individual to complete work. And GitHub also has the ability to have issues and feedback pushed through and have boards to assign tasks. So it'd be Azure pipelines. So pipelines is used to automate the CI/CD pipeline process, so that the build and deployment of your code.
So the question is a little bit tricky. We focus.
yeah, the wording's a little bit.
Yes, because the question here is lacks of feature, not what is the feature is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So just to cover off the lesson summary, so we've gone through choosing the software development process, tools and services that best address a specific business scenario. We've had an overview of what DevOps is, an overview of Azure DevOps, GitHub and Git Actions, and Azure Dev Test Labs. The next lesson is going to be choosing the best tools for managing configuring Azure environment. Does anyone have any questions around any of the tools here? And I'll apologize now, there wasn't any demos in this one. It was a little bit difficult to do demos without building out full environments to provision.
Yeah. That's absolutely great. Anyone has any question?
Thank you. But I suggest in the next lesson to take actual use case in continuous integration, continuous deployment in Azure to be more understandable to us, if you can, yani.
Yeah, you know, because this is just the foundation, the Azure foundation. So, you know, with more, you know, focus on, like, for example, Azure DevOps or the DevOps exam or the track, there will be more use cases. But, you know, now we just try to cover the basic and foundation.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Do you have any question? Anyone has any question?
Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you, Aaron.
Hi, Mr. Mohammed. Sorry.
Yes, no problem. Yeah.
I have one more question about the Azure board. I worked with Azure board and the different platform, but I don't know. Is there any feature in Azure or DevOps to manage the change request? I usually use Jira or ServiceNow to manage change request. is there any feature like this could be found in Azure board or in Azure pipelines?
So I guess it depends on how you're processing your change requests. So, for example, in in-flight projects, where someone would be pushing a change request off the back of a sprint, typically that would get added to the backlog within DevOps. For example, that's usually what I work in, and then that change item or request for some sort of change to your system would get prioritized and put into a following sprint by part of the process, part of the agile process. So you'd have sprint review and sprint planning. So anything that was deemed as a priority could then be pushed through into your next sprint. Where you'd have something, it's probably more where a user would pass through a change request to something where they wouldn't have active involvement within the development process is kind of how you'd use Jira or ServiceNow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Aaron.
Is there any other question?
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Aaron. I really appreciate it. So we have our next lesson will be lesson 5 with Marwa. Will present choose the best tools for managing and configuring Azure environment. Hello, Marwa.
Hi, yes. Okay, so yeah, I'll be explaining how you choose the best tools for managing and configuring your Azure environment. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Marwa Eshra, and I'm a senior data scientist at Dell Technologies. I am AWS Machine Learning Engineer certified with 7 years of experience in different industries between the medical, stock market, telecom, and technology industries. And I help business operations with data analysis, building their machine learning models, and doing visualization. In this lesson, I'll cover a quick introduction, an overview of cloud management tools, and 3 decision criteria analysis in which you can help choose the best tool in different scenarios. And we'll get into 5 different scenarios and 3 quick exam Q&As. A quick introduction. At a high level, there are 2 broad categories of management tools. Either they're visual tools or code-based tools. With visual tools, think of GUI, something full visually friendly, and you can access from this everything, configure everything, but when it gets to large deployments of resources, stuff with interdependencies and configuration options, this isn't that useful. You would need to get into code-based tools in which you can attempt to quickly set up, configure your Azure resources. Yes, it might take more time to understand the code-based commands and parameters, but once you get that, you can do it and save it in a file, repeat as needed. The code that performs setup and configuration, then you can do it in version control tools such as Git, and this infrastructure is called infrastructure as code. There are 2 actual examples of it. So imperative code, in which you detail every step that you want to be performed, or declarative code, in which you only detail the desired outcome, and the interpretable itself decides how to best achieve that outcome. Getting into the visual tools itself, you have the first 2. So Azure Portal, a user-friendly interface, web-based. It has like a graphical user interface. You can create new services, configure your services, view reports and dashboards from it. And for first-time users of Azure, it's very user-friendly. Let's say you don't have a computer and you want to access the same dashboards. You want to see the cost, manage your infrastructure. So you'd use Azure mobile app to monitor the health status of your Azure resources. And it can run the Azure command line interface even, or Azure PowerShell commands to manage your Azure resources. The three other are code level. So Azure PowerShell, it's a shell which developers, DevOps, and IT professionals can execute commands called commandlets. And these commands call the Azure REST API to perform every possible management task in Azure. You can execute independently or combined into a script file and execute together to orchestrate, for example, routine setup, teardown, maintenance of a single resource, or even multiple connected resources. And you can even use it for deployment of an entire infrastructure if you have dozens or hundreds of resources from imperative code. It's available Windows, Linux, and Mac, and you can access it on a web browser via Azure Cloud Shell. The same thing, same concept in Azure command line interface. But here, if you're a professional, DevOps professional, IT professional that is used to Bash, that would be your first priority or your first command line interface that you'd like to use. Same thing, the command calls the Azure REST API to perform every possible management task in Azure. Again, you can run the commands independently or combined into a script, execute them together to orchestrate the routine, setup, maintenance, deployment of entire infrastructures. Again, it's available on Windows, Linux, and Mac, and can be accessed in a web browser via Azure Cloud Shell. And you can even capture the commands in a script and make them process repeatable and automatable. The fifth one is more used to get things in parallel a lot. So you have, although it's possible to use it on Azure PowerShell and Azure command line interface to set up and tear down the Azure resource and orchestrate the infrastructure, there's a better way to implement this function. So you can use something called Azure Resource Manager templates. You can describe the resources you want to use in a declarative JSON format. And the benefit is that ARM templates verify before any code is executed to ensure that the resources will be created and connected correctly. So think parallel processing, think before the code gets implemented, you need to actually check it. And let's say you want or need 50 instances of the same resource. All 50 instances are created at the same time. So let's go through the 3 decision criteria that will help you choose which one of these 5 tools to choose from. First one, do you need to perform one-off management, administrative, or reporting actions? Well, the 5 can be used for that, yes. But Azure PowerShell and Azure command line interface, it allows you to quickly obtain the IP address of a virtual machine you're deployed, reboot a virtual machine, or scale an application. You might want to keep custom scripts for both tools handy on your local hard drive for certain operations that you need to perform multiple times. If you're in a cloud management or administrative role, it's less efficient to actually rely solely on visual scanning and clicking to quickly find the settings and information you want to work with. They will give you the most flexibility for repeatable tasks. So PowerShell command line, think of code-based. With Azure Resource Management, the ARM templates, you define the infrastructure requirements in your application for repeatable deployments, parallel, although ARM templates aren't intended for one-off scenarios, but you can use them for that purpose as well. With Azure Portal, we said it's a GUI, it's user-friendly. You can perform most, if not all, management and administrative actions. If you're just learning Azure or need to set up first-time user, that's a very visual interface, helpful for viewing reports. Lastly, with the Azure mobile app, you can use it if you don't have, for example, a laptop handy. The second decision criteria, if you need a repeatable and reliable way to set up one or more resources and ensuring that all the dependencies are created in the proper order. So then you'd think code-wise, the ARM templates and PowerShell or command line interface. With ARM, the validation step ensures that all resources can be created in the proper order based on dependencies in parallel. With PowerShell or command line interface, it's possible to do that, yes, in a repeatable manner, but you wouldn't get the checkup that happens before the code is implemented. Third decision, if you need to write a script by using imperative code, so then we'd think of your background, your preference. if you actually prefer Linux, then you'd prefer Azure command line interface. If Windows, then you'd prefer PowerShell. They're almost the same. So let's take these 3 decision criteria and apply them to 5 scenarios. I've highlighted the keywords as well to help you in this decision. So scenario 1, Tailwind Traders uses Azure extensively throughout its entire organization to make sure that both the technical and executive teams are aware of the company's cloud spend. The Director of Cloud Operations will begin to meet weekly with the CFO, and the conversations might begin at a high level, but the 2 officers might want to dive deep during the meeting to gain more insights into how Azure resources are being used. Ideally, they would be able to see the data displayed visually, but also be able to run customer reports in real time. So the question would be, first one, do you need to perform one-off management, administrative, or reporting actions? Yes, you do need that. And it's the CFO and the director. They'll meet like a weekly meeting, and they need something visually. So our first thought would be Azure Portal. It makes sense. And that just removes the second decision criteria and the third one. You don't need it to be repeatable, scalable wise, and you need to make it in a script coding wise. The second scenario, Tailwind Traders employs technologists with many different skills. A team of developers and administrators build and maintain a collection of intranet applications that are vital to the business. The team members have strong background in Windows development and network administration. The team moves its application to the cloud, and it now needs a way to perform one-off testing, management, administrative tasks in its intranet environment. The team quickly realizes that managing Azure Portal takes too much time, it's not repeatable. So let's go to the 3 decision criteria. Do you need to perform one-off management administrative tasks? Yes, you do. But they already said that Azure Portal takes too much time and is not repeatable. Need to do a repeatable and reliable way to deploy the infrastructure? No, they didn't mention the repeatable part. And do you actually have scripting wise? So yes, it's Windows background. So then you think of Azure PowerShell. Going forward with scenario 3, as we noted in preceding units, Tailwind Traders employs technologists with many different skills. The DevOps team is primarily concerned with keeping external systems, such as the company's e-commerce site, up and running. This team has a Linux administration background. It frequently needs to perform administrative tasks related to the health of a cloud environment. The team quickly realized that managing Azure from the portal takes too much time and isn't repeatable. So same scenario as above, but here they mentioned Linux. So yes, they do need one-off management, administration, and reporting actions. They didn't mention the repeatable part, and they said the script of a Linux. So then you'd think Azure command line interface. In scenario 4, you would get Tailwind Trader experiences surges in e-commerce traffic that coincide with national holidays and weekends in the company's first few years. Managers of critical systems had to convene at the office of a director of cloud operations during these important periods. And then now they have successfully operationalized most critical systems, and the director wants to relax this requirement and allows employees to spend these dates with their families. What does that mean? That they would be most probably away from their computers, but they do need to manage their infrastructure as well. So yes, it might be a one-off management, administration, reporting action, but with that in mind, we think in here Azure mobile app. That's very user-friendly. And no, we don't need it repeatable, and we don't need to write a script for it. In scenario 5, the last one, the company wants to operationalize their cloud deployments. The company needs a repeatable, reliable way to scale its operations during peak sales periods. Because you'll be choosing a process from scaling your production environment, you need to ensure that your chosen service runs in an efficient, potentially creates many resources in parallel, creates all dependencies in the correct order, and can be used without worrying that it failed in the middle of provisioning the necessary infrastructure. So no, it's not a one-off management administration. And yes, we do need a repeatable, reliable way to deploy the entire infrastructure. So that makes us think of ARM templates and just removing the script part. So 3 questions for preparing for the exam. As an administrator, you need to retrieve IP address from a particular virtual machine by using bash. Which of the following tools should you use? ARM templates, or the PowerShell, or Portal, or the command line interface? Any volunteers?
CLI?
Yes, exactly, because they mentioned bash. With the second question, you're a developer who needs to set up your first virtual machine to host a process that runs nightly. Which of the following tools is your best choice? Is it the ARM, or PowerShell, or Portal, or command line interface?
ARM templates?
He said the first virtual machine. So let's say if you don't have coding-wise.
User Portal?
Portal.
Yes, exactly, because you
To
need
define
something
the region,
user-friendly.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's Azure Portal. With the third question, what's the best infrastructure as code option for quickly, reliable setting up your entire cloud infrastructure declaratively? Is it ARM templates, PowerShell, Portal, or command line interface?
None of them.
ARM templates.
I prefer Bicep.
It is actually ARM templates because they said you need a reliable setup of your entire cloud infrastructure. So ARM templates would actually revise the code and then run parallelly everything in the infrastructure to build it out.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's get an overview, a summary of what it was covered in this lesson. We covered the 5 management tools, Azure Portal, Azure mobile app, as visual tools of management tools. With the code-based tools, we got Azure PowerShell, Azure command line interface, and Azure resource management templates. We took 3 decision criteria to help us actually in building the 5 scenarios, and we took it in the Q&A. So we took Azure Portal, visually understand the GUI, user-friendly. With Azure PowerShell, one-off administration tasks. Same thing with Azure command line interface, just the difference. This is Bash, this is Windows preference. And with Azure mobile app to manage Azure on the go. ARM templates to deploy an entire cloud infrastructure that's reliable. So that is it for me. Any questions?
Any question? I think they are all good. Thank you, Marwa. This was really absolutely great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can I have one question, if possible?
Yeah, sure.
I just mentioned Azure Bicep. I'm working on a project and I have to take a decision which option I want to use. I'm well known with ARM templates, but not with Bicep. But I have heard that Bicep is a better option than ARM template. Can you give me an advice in it? At least if you know more about Azure Bicep.
You mean Python, right?
No, not Python, but another option to provision
migration. So I hope, Mohammed, you are ready.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Share my screen. Let me know. See it.
Sure. Yes, we can see you. Can see the screen.
Okay. So, choosing best monitoring services for visibility, insight, and routing mitigation.
Sorry, your voice is breaking, Mohammed.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's better now. Thank you.
Okay. About me, my name is Mohammed Zaky. I'm a senior solution architect development. I'm based in Alexandria, Egypt. Basically, I'm a senior software developer using Microsoft technologies like C# or .NET and Azure to deploy our apps. I have over 5 years experience in medical, educational, entertainment, and maritime fields as a business. In this module, we have an introduction and then identify your the product options for this lesson. Decision criteria analysis and apply decision criteria. Then QE questions for the exams. Okay, so mainly we have 3 tools to help us to choose the best monitoring services for the visibility, insight, and outing mitigation. The first option is Azure Advisor. Actually, Advisor help you to save time on cloud optimization. Recommendation service includes suggested actions that you can take right away or postpone or dismiss. It's actually like a recommendation panel. Second option is Azure Monitor, is a platform for collecting, analyzing, visualizing, and taking action based on metrics and logging data from your Azure and on-premises environments. When your application crashes during peak time or unexpected errors you didn't enter in your application. And last one, Azure Service Hubs. It's like personalized view of health of Azure services, regions, and resources you are using, mainly from status.azure.com website to see which outage, which of the service has an outage globally and when it would be resolved. The first option is Azure Advisor. Mainly, it has 5 recommendations divided into 5 categories: reliability, security, performance, cost, and operation excellence. Reliability is used to ensure your continuity of business critical applications. Security used to detect threats, vulnerabilities that might lead to security breaches in your app. Performance used to improve speed of your application if you need to scale up or scale down. And cost used to optimize the reduce of your spending in Azure because you don't want your bill to be high. And operational excellence is used to help you achieve the process and workflow efficiency, manage your resources, and deploy the best deployment with using best practices. Second category or second product is Azure Monitor. Actually, it's this graph is divided in 3 sections. The first section, the middle section, and the right section. On the left is the sources of logging and metric data collected in every layer in your application from OS and network, your subscription, custom resources. In center, metrics and logs stored in a database or a repository. The third part is application which can be used in a number of ways: real-time and historical times across of your application. Actually, it helps you to display a lot of data to decide to know when the error occurred or what caused the error, and help you to define the root cause of your breakdown, or if there is an planned maintenance or a global outage happened and you need to know it be fixed. I'm talking too fast, or do you have any questions for these parts?
No, I think that's fine. Thank you, Mohammed.
Okay. Okay, decision criteria. You need to perform one-time management, administrative, or a reporting action. Actually, you can use Azure Advisor, where when you are looking for analysis of your deployed resources. Actually, Azure Advisor analyzes configuration and usage of the resources that you configure and use, and for recommendation of how to optimize it for reliability, security, performance, and boosts. Or do you want to monitor Azure services on your usage? If you want to check on your resources health, you can use Azure service health to display the current status of the current Azure service. Like this happened earlier this month for application I used to work on. The VM service, virtual machine service, was actually stopped for like 3 or 4 hours globally. So we had to check the Azure status site to check if the service is going to be working again in few minutes or few hours, and they fixed it by like 4 or 5 hours later. Okay. If you want to track performance or an issue related to specific container instance or VM, you can use Azure Monitor to create reports and define the root cause of the outage or usage of your resource. Second decision criteria: do you want to measure custom events and other usage metrics? You can also use Azure Monitor when you want to measure custom events to collect telemetry data. Custom events. You can add these to your source code and call them the APIs, and diagnose why your application behaving in a certain way, like adding logger and check your metrics in your application. I will show you how to display this. Okay, the scenarios for these criteria. Twin and traders want to optimize its cloud spans, and the organization is concerned about security breaches because it stores customer and customer data and historical purchase data on cloud-based database. As the organization ramps up the cloud expertise, it wants to better understand of using the cloud. And to do better practices while using it. So, which service of these should they pick? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, Mohammed, we can hear you.
Yeah, which of these services should twin lane traders use to optimize its cloud spans?
Yes, is anyone would like to participate?
Advisor.
Actually, it's Azure. Sorry, it should be advisor. Yeah, it should be Azure advisor. Clicked in the wrong way. It should be Azure advisor. It should be Azure advisor. Sorry, it's I misplaced the color. It should be Azure advisor. Show you recommendations about optimization for your app. It should be Azure advisor, not Azure service house. My mistake. It should be Azure advisor. Okay. Second scenario, trade-in traders, e-commerce is experience errors and they are unsure of the cause. And the team suspects users database caching or database or caching issue. So the issue only happens during the peak usage times. Which of the team Azure SQL instance? What is the state of Redis caching? So how can they trace it? And define the root cause for this.
Monitor.
Yeah, Azure Monitor. They need to use Azure Monitor to view metrics and logs about the peak time of their app and why it causes an error, and to define a solution for that. Azure Advisor is not recommendation. Azure Services helps is not an option also because Azure Service Health only show the status of service is it running or the service has an issue.
Is Azure Monitor will be work automatically, or we have to enable Azure Insight first, or how it will?
You need to first enable the Azure application insights.
Okay. Yes.
And I will show how to configure it and pick which resource to display the metrics and logs. Okay, before we are going to this, let's go here. Sorry, not this. 1 minute. One minute. You check, can you see my screen, right?
Yes, Mohammed.
Yeah, okay. So in Azure Monitor, you have Monitor visualize metrics, query analyze logs, and set up actions. So if you click here, you should be able to see your resources for a specific scope and let me click this and this. These are actual projects. Oh, actually, service. 1 minute. It used to work. Yeah. App service, select the metric, data in. So this is an app. Choose the traffics in or incoming to my app for the specific periods. You can change line chart to area chart or export it, I think. Yeah, there is share export or download Excel. This is useful if your app has a high reach for a specific time, or you have a downtime, or there an error caused by unhandled exceptions in your app. You can choose this through Monitor, Azure Monitor. Also, for this Azure Monitor, you can view logs if you have any logs or stored. Actually, for this, I don't have any log. But you can check for VM available memory, CPU usage for your VM, and reported errors. If you have an error log, your application can log to this. And for Azure status, this is status.azure.com/status. These are the indicators: good, information, warning, and critical. Mainly, we had like 2 months ago or 1 month ago a warning for VM virtual machines. All of the regions except China had a warning, and this displayed warning, and they kept updating us through Twitter and their channel on YouTube, I think. This is where you can find any service that you use in Azure if it has a global outage or is down. And if you go to Azure service health, it keep asking me to log in. For this, if I have any service issue, it should appear here. Luckily, we don't have any service issue or planned maintenance soon. You can also check your resources and check if you have any maintenance available, so you can move to another server or move to another region. For Azure Advisor, let me show you. If you have a high spending, or it keeps me to sign in. If you have high spending, or like if you forgot to turn off your service, if you don't use it and you don't want to have a high bill, you can check from advisors for your recommendations, and it should show you a notification. Like now, I have one impacted resources, and they have recommendation for it. And I should apply this fix to have a better performance for this. Do you have any questions so far, or we're okay?
Is there anyone has any question? Okay, so I think we are good. Thank you.
Oh, okay. For this, you want to be alerted. This is support for preparation or knowledge check for Q&A. You want to be alerted when a new recommendation to improve your cloud environment are available. Which service will do this?
Monitor.
Actually, no. It should be Azure Advisor. It should recommendations.
Oh, recommendations. Yeah.
Recommendations.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Only recommendation if you want to apply it, fix it, or postpone it or dismiss it. Like this. This fix it for this, or show recommendation for this. Okay, second question. Which service provides official root cause analysis for Azure instance?
It should be monitor.
No, it's actually Azure service. It mixed it up. Actually, service it should show you the root issue. Like here, 1 minute. Here, it should be it should show you the issues or the root cause in a log, or should show you here where the issue. Check the health history for a specific subscription, and I don't think we have an issue. I think, yeah, and I don't have any permission also. I need another role for that. I tried to show you in a real project, not a demo for this. Okay, which service is a platform that power application sites, monitoring for VMs and containers and Kubernetes? Monitor.
Monitor, yeah.
Yeah, this one is Azure Monitor to display metrics, logs, and metrics. So this lesson has covered monitoring service Azure Advisor, Azure Monitor, Azure Service Roles, and applied decision criteria to help you choose best tool for specific scenarios. Use Azure self-service health for official root cause. Use Azure Monitor to get full stack visibility, find and fix problem, optimize your performance, and understand your customer behavior in all one place. Use Azure Advisor to get an alert when a new recommendation are available. Do you have any questions? I hope I managed to keep the time for it.
Yeah, that's absolutely great, Mohammed. Thank you so much. Is there any questions? I think we're all good. Okay, that's great. So this is the end. So thank you everyone for attending today. And please, I will send the form of the feedback. Please try to make all the effort to fill the form. And also just a reminder, you can download all the presentation from the GitHub repo. And we will waiting you for the next lesson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you. No problem. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.